Hi there and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2 Project Viking. Left this park in the hands of my collaborators for a few weeks and it's now really taking shape. It's been back again with me this week to progress, so for this episode I've finished off some of the elements over by the water park and I've also added a few other bits and bobs all over the park, so let's take a look. A lot happening with this park since I was last in here. It's starting to look really good now. Rapid progress to fill out the map, so I don't think this is going to be a very long series. I think this will be finished in a couple of weeks or so. We have got the beginnings of a car park which Mrs. T-Rex is working on, so I will leave her to that one. Then if we make our way through the entrance, one problem that's come to light with the rides here. These were put in before the hotfix that resolved where guests weren't queuing properly. Well, they are now, and that's a problem. My queues aren't exactly long enough to handle the traffic. This is particularly bad with the cable car, but I'm also struggling with the cable car. I've had problems where it just shuts itself down, and apparently there is a few teething problems with the cable cars. I can't have this running over 5 miles per hour. It will shut itself down. If one of the stations closes, the whole thing shuts down and we end up with these huge queues, so I may just close this ride completely. It's a nice concept having the cable car run all the way up to the side of the mountain, but if it's not working, then I may as well I have already put in something else that we'll get to. But first, side of the village here is being finished off by Mrs. T-Rex. She's putting in some flat rides for us. These are work in progress, so we'll hold off showing these fully until they're ready for us to look at. So make our way under the bridge, and this brings us out to my transport solution for now. Since the cable cars weren't working, put in a bus line. Of course, the area around this will be built up in time, but for now this is a good solution to get people down to the bottom end of the park. And I've got to say, this is working so much better than the cable cars. Although, nobody here right now. So, completely disproving my point. There must be a clog on the other end. We'll move on. Oh no, wait, hang on, there's a bus. Right, take a quick look at the bus in action. It doesn't totally fit in with the Viking theme. Yes, I know, this is a bit too modern, but the cable cars, although they fit better, they weren't working. Bus line does work better. This goes right through the mountain, taking passengers over to the water park. Anyway, before we get over there, let's take a quick look at the sheer volume of stuff that Raichu Plays has put into the park last week. You can, of course, check this out in more detail in episode 2 that's on their channel. And for this, they've really gone to town on the mountain. On this side, we've got our first coaster in here, and this has been integrated so well with the mountain, and also a lot of attention paid to keeping this in with the Viking theme. We've now even got shops and things up at the top. I just left the guests here to fend for themselves with just the cable car station. I'd say this is certainly now a fully integrated part of the park, and there's some wonderful attention to detail up here. Like, wow, where the coaster goes through the mountain, you've got these little openings and hatches that are all fully themed as well. It's just wonderful. I do see as well, they have managed to squeeze in a little flat ride up here, and that's great. That's exactly what I wanted, was to start integrating attractions into the mountains so that the mountains aren't just a landscape to look pretty. We do want a reason for guests to make their way up here too. Anyway, that's some insight what's been added here since my last episode. Now if we wind our way back down the path, we can take a look at the water park and what I've been doing over here. Quite a lot gone in since my first episode. So first of all, it's the end of the bus line. I've dressed this up as a little holiday chalet, so keeping in with the Nordic theme, and I figured this would work well being close to the water park section. And this is where all those buses have been hiding. They're all blocking up at the end of the line. I'll have to look at the management for that, see what's going on. But yeah, holiday chalet right next to the water park. I know we don't have hotel stuff in the game just yet. I'm sure it's coming at some point. For now, it's a placeholder and veered slightly away from the Viking theme here. This is more relaxing accommodation. He even put the balconies at the back there. So yeah, this is more based on a place to relax rather than being part of the park itself. So moving on, there is some stuff to show with the water park as well. First up, I've dressed up the platform for the original water flumes I put in. This was just bare metal structure before. So now it's themed correctly. Unfortunately, it's still unpopular, this ride. Nobody wants to ride the flumes. You'll get the odd guest swimming in here, but nope, nobody on the flumes. Which brings me to the big flume attraction that I've put in here. This is 4 flumes total, dressed up with the Viking mystical rocks. That comes out into 2 runouts and 2 flumes exiting into a pool. Spent a good 2 days theming this up and making sure the rocks don't clip with the flumes. It's just a shame, really. None of the guests are interested in it. I believe the hotfix that was released a couple of weeks ago was supposed to draw more interest into your pools and flumes. Not working in this park, at least. Hey ho, I set about making an epic water slide feature and I think I've ticked that box for the park. The other new building in this section, I've created a coffee house. Recently, I've been on a bit of a mission to create detailed shop shelves for all of the food and drink vendors, and this is one of the few of them that I've pulled together. So, some Viking, but also generic coffee theming in here. Oh, and something fun, the self-serve counter. There's a vending machine hidden behind here, so it looks like people are using the self-serve. I think it fits in better like that rather than plonking in another generic vending machine. Rest of the shop, this is pure self-indulgence on my part. I like the challenge of figuring out where tiny pieces of scenery can fit together to make little scenes, like the coffee machine and stuff. Also managed to squeeze in a small toilet at the back, and I did dress up the picnic benches so guests do have somewhere to sit down, although they're merging through the scenery a little bit there. We'll ignore that. So yeah, this is my coffee house and probably a little too much attention to detail in here. This is my escapism. Anyway, moving on, all that's left in the water park, we need some kind of water coaster in here. Raichu does have some ideas for this, so maybe seeing that developed in the next week or 2. Once that's done, that is the water park section completely finished. I'm just hoping there is some kind of balancing goes on further with the next hotfix, so hopefully we get people using the water park. It bothers me that, okay, this is a sandbox park, so guests shouldn't have an opinion of where they go. They should just go into every ride and attraction. And finding the odd group here or there, well, they will get into the pools, but nobody's using the flumes at all. And for a sandbox park, it shouldn't matter. The prestige, anything like that shouldn't weigh in on the decision for guests to use a ride. They should just be using this. Hey ho, I'll stop complaining. It is what it is right now. There are a few other things in the park I've built that aren't to do with the water park. As mentioned in the first episode, this area coming up to the harbour, I felt like this was a little empty, so I filled this with another placeholder for some accommodation. This is based on a real-life ski resort high-rise in Norway, and I felt like putting it at the bottom of the mountain here fits in well, and guests get a nice view of the lake and everything there as well. Obviously non-functioning since we don't have hotels, but breaks up the space a little so it's not just trees and mountains that they get to look at walking down to the water park. The other thing I've been working on over this side of the park, added a couple of attractions here as well. So follow the road down, and first thing I've got here, I've had a go at putting in a mine train. Now, I'm not great at building coasters, but I've got to start learning at some point, and I figured mine train, well, that's a kid's ride, isn't it? So maybe start with that one. Got this going into the mountain, so themed up the entrance and exit as if it's entrance and exit into the old mine. And to be fair, although I don't have a lot of experience building coasters, I think I've done okay with this. Been mindful here that Raichu will want to use this mountain for more of his high quality coasters, so it is a compact build, shall we say, in the corner. Also got another flat ride up here. I always wanted to put a flat ride in this little corner here around the pathing, so it all integrates really well. We've got the flat rides, we've got the coaster coming out and over the top of the road. Went with the tall flat ride considering it's on a mountain peak, and this one works really well because it has a very small footprint, so easy to theme this up and get it dressed up within the small space that it has up here. And hopefully I've not taken up too much real estate up in this back corner, so hopefully Raichu's not mad at me for building something on this area that we have designated this for coasters. That's everything I've added to the park for today. Next episode we'll be back with Raichu on his channel, so more thrill rides to come soon. We'll end off today with a ride on the mine train. Hopefully you think I did okay with my first attempt at a proper coaster. It's like baby's first coaster here. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time.